You're cheap. I mean, what's the deal with that? At least a prostitute understands capitalism, you communist. See, the point is, sexual intimacy always costs something. We're going to keep hitting on that. It always costs something. For you guys, all it costs is a dinner and a drink. I know girls, I've talked to Christian girls who feel like if the guy takes me out and he takes me on a nice enough date, it's a nice dinner, he pulls my chair out for me, he reads Maxim basically, way to go, and doesn't hit me over the head with a chair, buys dinner, and picks a good movie, well, I feel like I should at least make out with him. I owe it to him. I have heard a girl say that. And if that's a Christian girl saying that, then I know that there's non-Christian girls here who are like, I feel like I should have sex with him. Girls, have you ever gone on a date with a guy and he gets all ticked off because he feels like you should put out? I wore a tie. And then he demands sex? What an idiot. That's silly. You put on a tie. Congratulations. Well, everyone on Wall Street should be having sex every day, all the time. Should be like rabbits. But some of you guys, the only cost it takes to get you in bed is a dinner and a movie. You're a cheap prostitute when you act like that. See, your body belongs to Jesus. Your body's an extension of Jesus. Now, some of you understand that just hooking up, I don't do that thing. That is gross. I agree with you, Nate. I only have sex when I am in love. I wait till I'm in love and then I have sex. So I'm in a loving relationship. Well, let's just ask this. Let's have a show of hands, but wait till I answer the question. I don't want some people to be like, confessional time. No. It doesn't have to be a sexual relationship. It just has to be a relationship. Who has ever been in a romantic relationship that has ended? Break up. They died. Probably break up. Let's be honest, right? No, get the hands way up. Be proud. I've been broken up with. Let's be proud about that. You can pretend like you did the breaking up. Did you guys see all the hands that went up around you? Like everybody, right? Everybody. So, and the stats were that we've read, that we got from an article in the Daily Sentinel, and I wish they would have done a better job citing their work, but that now the surveys show that 90% of single young adults in romantic relationships are having sex. And if we just go by the rate of hands that were up, I'd say 100% have been in an intimate relationship that has ended. And second of all, when you say, I just have sex when I'm in love, how do you gauge love? That's my question to you. That's what I'm like, okay, I get where you're coming from, but how do you gauge love? What's in love? What's not in love? When's the point when you know, like, okay, it's okay to have sex now, because, like, the love is, like, right here. Before he was picking bad movies, and we were playing Guitar Hero and drinking PBR, and I was like, I'm not giving it up for that. And then he quit poking me in the chest when he picked me up, and, so I was like, it's time, love's up. I started getting my expectations up like 10%. When is in love enough? What is that level? Where's the thermometer? Is there like a love thermometer, a mood ring you put on, and if it turns bright purple and goes past 100 degrees, like, all right, it's time to have sex. I'm in love enough. You'll say, when it feels right. If there is a naked girl in front of a guy, it feels right. I'm just letting you know. That's how it is. Like, it feels good. Now's a good time. An hour ago, she had her clothes on. Not a good time. Now she's naked. It feels right. Looks like this will be easy. When it feels right. Some of you guys are like, yeah, I haven't crossed that line, though. I haven't crossed that line. Have you done everything up to that line? So that wasn't intimate? That was just, you might as well have been playing poker and drinking coffee? That wasn't intimate? See what happens, guys, because I asked, what's our sexual account? When you start, God gives you purity. He gives you nobody. He gave Adam, there was nobody. Adam's candle was not lit. If it was lit, he was from Wyoming, and he liked sheep, and he had other problems, but sin hadn't entered the world yet, so his candle wasn't lit. Then Eve came into the world, and God brought them together in union, in marriage. He brought them together. And it says that Adam knew her. That word know is an intimate know. I made the joke about the sheep, but Adam knew Eve in a way, and Eve knew Adam in a way that none of the rest of creation knew them. The intimacy started. The purity, his sexuality, I asked about that account. That account was all in for Eve. And see, some of us, most of us, statistically speaking, we've started this candle. We've burned it. It's getting going. And we realize that it's not just sex. That when we do those things, it's not just sex. That it deals with our identity and who we are as a person when we're intimate with someone. And that's why the biblical view of sex is this. Do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? One body. That is the exact same terminology. He didn't just make that up. I feel like they're one body. That sounds good. I'm going to put that down. I'm feeling poetic. Metaphor. That's out of Genesis. They become one flesh. Some of you guys are like, dude, I can't stand church. They're like, there are these rules. You can't have sex. You can't date around. You can't sleep around. But I like Jesus. He's cool. He's like hippie and he's postmodern. I bet he drinks teas from Sumatra and all these places. He's pretty cool. He listens to indie rock. He smokes American Spirits. Rolls his own. Well, Jesus said the exact same thing. That when a man and woman come together, that they have joined at one body. The two become one flesh. That's why God's so against divorce. We're going to get into that next week. To become one body. And so, really, this isn't the image we need. But in fact, this is a better image. That some of you are sexually active right now. And you're two. And you're joined together. Oh, I'm cool. I don't want to blow on it. Wax over the communion. See, people argue that Christianity doesn't value sex. Have you guys heard that? You guys felt that from pop culture? That the culture's the only one out there appreciating sex, and those prudish Christians, they don't even get it? Actually, Christianity and Jesus have a very high esteem for sex. It's so important that you don't just go throwing it around. You don't just go giving it to anybody. If you had $1 million, you wouldn't just be like, I got $1 million, and just start throwing it like that. You'd be like, I have $1 million, and you'd hire security, and you wouldn't want anyone taking your money. So why do you do that with your sexuality? Why do you go throwing it around like it has no value? Such a high value that Jesus is like, it should only belong in marriage, and not just marriage, because there's a lot of bad marriages. But only the marriage that understands that marriage is a covenant forever, that it cannot break. He said, therefore, what God has brought together, let not man separate. He said this marriage deal is so important that you should not tear it apart. You should not tear it apart. And see, this is some of your guys' sexuality. Is that you can't even tear it. You go breaking it apart. You're sexually active, and then you try to break the bonds. And you end up in pieces. No, that's kind of the hope. but I have a backup, don't worry. And after that one, because you've no longer valued sex, you move on to the next one. The next one, he needs Viagra. And we're on the topic, right? The pin's broken. And you go and you combine yourself with the next one. And because we know we've all been in failed relationships, after being with this one, don't worry. You start a relationship with the next one. Gonna have to use the lighter for this one. And you just go throwing it around like there's no value on it. I went to read a story. I had someone, a dear sister in Christ. She's married now, but she had a bad past. And so I had her write a little testimony, and I want to read this for you really quick. Just had her write. And her past had to do with sex. And she ended up in a past where she just gave it away and gave it away and gave it away. She said, this is how it started. Sophomore year of high school, I started dating a wonderful boy. He was a perfect athlete, awesome student, great family. He was a Mormon boy with morals. Good thing I put it out. She said, after a few weeks, he told me that he loved me. Asking that question. How do you know when it's time? When we're in love. Within a month, we were intimate for the first time. It was different from that moment. We dated for 3 years. One night, though, he asked me to involve someone else with us. He said that if I loved him, I would. I did. And that's when it changed. I realized that moment that this person who said that he loved me shared me. And it destroyed my concept about love. And we broke up. Soon after, I started using everything I could to make that pain go away. I used drugs, alcohol, men. There was a long string of men that I was with. There were ones I knew their names, some that I didn't. I knew that if I wanted men around, this was all I had to offer, meaning her sex. Then she finds herself pregnant. Guy who gets her pregnant wants nothing to do with her. He's got actually a couple more daughters from a couple more women. And so she said she tried turning herself to Jesus. And so she meets a Christian guy. He's a virgin. She was a mess. He had no story, no past story to tell. She said, we started to fall in love. I got scared and fell back into my own ways. If he knew everything I had done, he would leave me, so I tricked him. One night, I talked him into sleeping with me. After we were done, he said, well, looks like we better get married. We did get married. They have 2 wonderful children now, she says. He's a wonderful man, and I am blessed to have him. But get this, is there a cost to sex? Every time we fight, I tell him, you only married me because you slept with me. My warped ideas, my distrust, my baggage come back up again and again. Sometimes I will withhold sex from him because I crave that power. I'm still working through it. I hate that he has only been with me and I can't stay the same for him. Something that God created to be shared between a husband and wife, I allowed the devil to use it and destroy it, also destroying me. See, there is a cost. As you go from one person to one person, you end up just carrying pieces from one relationship into the next. And as you go to break it apart, you just fall into more and more pieces, offering more and more crap in the next relationship until you come to the point